Welcome to the Self-Growth Nerds podcast. I'm your host, Marie, a courage coach, creative soul, and adventure seeker. Since through hiking the Pacific Crest Trail in 2019, I'm on a mission to help you embrace your most confident self so you can achieve your dreams too. If you're eager for deep conversations, big questions, and meaningful connections, join me on the quest to discovering how we can create a more magical and memorable life. Hello, nerds! How are you? Sorry for shouting in your ears. I'm excited. Today's episode was inspired by a conversation I had with one of my clients. She was saying that she has no kids and no partner, so she felt like sometimes people didn't respect her time and they just expected her to be free to help them at all moments. I can definitely relate to that because I used to feel similarly. Many of my friends have young children and 9-to-5 jobs, so they used to, and still sometimes do, think of me as the person to call that doesn't have anywhere specific to be on a Wednesday afternoon, so she can maybe help me with babysitting my kid or something like this. And also, I would have Ollie come talk to me at any moment in the day, tell me about what was going on for him. And these things used to make me angry. I used to have thoughts like, people don't respect my time, they don't take my job seriously, they don't think my work is as important as theirs. And I know now that none of this is true. So I asked my client, do you know when people will start treating you differently? It's not once you're successful, it's not once you've proven that it works, it's not once they finally understand what you do, it's not once they respect you. It's when you start respecting your time and what you do enough to set clear boundaries. When you close the door of your office, when you say, no, I'm unavailable. We don't have the capacity for this. When you stop answering every text. It's funny because the other weekend, my cousin's teenage daughter was with us. And she had her phone with her the whole time. At one point, she made a big sigh. And I said, what's wrong? And she said, they keep texting me. And I told her, well, you keep replying. Just stop replying and they're going to stop texting you. And she was like, huh, okay. And slowly but surely, when you start changing how you act because you respect your time, people will understand. And if they don't, then maybe they're not your people. But most people will adapt. People say to me now, you're so protective of your time. Some people say it with awe, like they wish they could be this way, and they can. And some people say it with a bit of annoyance. You're so protective of your time. And what they mean is, you take your time for yourself and it's not fair because I want some of it. But I get to decide who I give my time to and how. And if we go back to my client, she said, but it's so hard because I've always been this way. People expect things from me because I've always been there to help. And then she kind of stopped and made an amazing analogy. She said, I feel like I'm wearing this old dingy coat, and I wonder what my new coat would look like. Your old coat is all of your default programming, all of your default ways of being that you've done over and over again for your whole life. The ones that come to you automatically. You will never fully get rid of them. But the strength comes from when you can notice yourself wearing your old coat, and when you notice, you can take it off and put on the new one. At first, you're going to have to take off the old coat maybe 50 times a day. And that's totally fine. That's okay. We've got to be patient with ourselves when we want to change. So you can take off the old coat 50 times a day, put on the new one. Get to know the new coat. How do you act when you're wearing it? What's different about you? And part of you is desperately going to want to put the old coat back on because the new one's not going to be comfortable and the new one's going to spark reactions from people around you. The old coat is like an old pair of shoes. It's comfortable. And the new one is stiff, like new leather. You need to break it in, but it's much better quality. And it's going to become comfortable with time. It's normal that it's super stiff to begin with in comparison to your old comfy one. It's also super normal for other people that you've known for a long time, to get annoyed with you when you're wearing your new coat because you're not giving them what they've been used to. You're finally stepping into the person that you want to be. And this might mean that you no longer do people pleasing. This might mean that you don't give in to everything that they want and expect from you. So initially it can cause friction, but eventually they're going to be much better off with the version of you who is true and honest and fully themselves. And if they don't get with the program, then maybe they're not your person. And you can send them off with love. It will happen sometimes that I forget to close my office door and Ollie, my partner, gets all excited and comes to tell me about what's going on in his day. And I will lovingly say, I'm working and I'm going to close the door and tell him, let's talk about this later. I love you. Bye. And at first it can ruffle feathers. The other person might think, oh, they don't love me anymore, or they don't think I'm important anymore. But that's not the case. It's just that you have begun putting yourself first. And everyone in the long run, not even in the long run, everyone will benefit from that. Everyone in your life will benefit from you taking care of yourself and what matters to you, because you're not going to be resentful. You're going to be fulfilled. Your reservoir is going to be full, and you're going to be able to be a much more patient parent, a better listener, and more present partner. So it might not seem this way in the moment, but the long-term impact is so worth it. Now when friends call me to ask if I can babysit, they know I'm just going to be honest. If I'm not available, I'm going to say no. If I want to take some time off to babysit, I will say yes, and it's going to be a real yes coming from my heart, okay? And ideally, that's what you want from your loved ones. If they say yes, you want them to say yes and do the thing with their heart, not just to please you. Anyway, that's the kind of world I want to live in, so that's the kind of world that I create around me. Let me give you another analogy. I was with a coach of mine a few months ago, and I was telling him, I've opened the door for this person to tell me all of these negative things, and it's just draining to me. And he looked at me and said, why don't you just close the door then? And I said, can I? How? And he replied, by deciding you don't want this anymore and telling them, okay, thank you. That's enough. Short answer. You don't need to justify and explain everything. You can just close the door. Even though it's counterintuitive, even though it goes against what you've learned in your conditioning, that you always have to have a good reason to say no and that you have to be apologetic and explain. And no, sometimes you can just, out of love for yourself, say thanks, but no thanks. I've had enough. This reminds me of a sentence in one of my favorite books, The Perks of Being a Wallflower. The author Stephen Chbosky writes, you accept the love you think you deserve. You also accept the hate you think you deserve. You accept the control you think you deserve. you accept the treatment you think you deserve. And as women, especially, or anyone who's been socialized as a woman, we're so quick to get on board with that. Sometimes I get frustrated with my partner, Ollie, because I come in with a plan. Okay, here's what we're going to do. You're going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And he just goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. No, we're a team. I'm not your employee. Let's decide together what we want to do. And I'm always like, yeah, okay. But part of me knows that if I was in his shoes, I'd be like, yes, okay, I'm all ears. I'm a good student. Sir, yes, sir. That would be my go-to attitude. And I'm unlearning this for sure. But if someone has a plan, I'm like, yes, okay. You accept the treatment you think you deserve, or more accurately, you accept the treatment you've been taught to think you deserve, either by your parents, by the system, whatever. So if someone is taking too much of your time or your energy, you don't get frustrated at them, or it might seem like you do, but truly, you get frustrated at yourself for not setting proper boundaries. Because part of you, your conditioning, believes that you deserve that, while your core self knows that you don't. And the frustration is born between those two forces, and then unproductively directed at others. I mean, it's cognitive dissonance. A part of you believes you must act a certain way in order to be liked, and another part of you just wants to do what's true for them. And there's a battle between both. We so often want others to change so that we feel better. But the change needs to come from us. We're the only person we have control over anyway. So whenever you catch yourself feeling frustrated towards someone else, bring it back to you. Wait, what am I frustrated at myself about? Or what's the feeling I'm trying to avoid? Let yourself feel. Ask yourself, what needs attention in me, in my life? Because when your relationship with yourself, with your inner being is going well, you're not going to be frustrated at others. You're only going to be frustrated at others when there's something in you that's not in alignment. And it's not about blaming yourself. No, it's very, very, very different. It's just about focusing on what you can control, while having compassion for yourself that some external circumstances really do suck and make things really hard. Like living in a patriarchal society, for example. Like having to work under certain conditions in order to pay your bills. I'm not denying the existence of broken systems and difficult external circumstances, but I want to help you pour your energy where you have wiggle room, where you can take back your responsibility. So when you feel super stuck, remember that you can always remove your old coat and decide what new coat you want to put on and how you would act in that new coat. You can take back the responsibility at all times, even in small ways. And when you feel like you've opened the wrong door, remember that you can just close the door, even though it makes some people angry. And I often hear clients saying things like, I have so much pressure on my shoulders, or I have kind of like a clamp on my brain. When you feel this way, ask yourself, what if I just took that pressure and removed it myself? How could I do that? What could this look like? What if I loosened the clamp on my brain? What would that feel like? What could I do to loosen it up a little bit? Okay? It's so tempting to get angry at outside situations, at other people. And it does feel good to complain, but at one point you always have to regain power, take the reins back, see how you can make things a little bit better. All right, that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed, and I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye! You just listened to the Self-Growth Nerds podcast. Make sure to subscribe and to find me on Instagram at Self-Growth Nerds. If you want individual help developing the confidence to create a more meaningful and exciting life, visit selfgrowthnerds.com today to learn how. Finally, I want to thank my friend Etienne Galano for editing this, and I want to thank you, kind-hearted souls, for growing into your truest, most courageous selves every day and making this world a better, more beautiful place. My name is Marie, and I will talk to you next week.